Risk management is at the heart of what we do. Our deep-rooted industry and technical expertise enables us to manage the unique risks your business faces. Celebrating 100 years of insurance, good and proper then, now, and always.
Welcome back. We're talking about cybercrime with particular focus on smaller businesses. My guests are Simon Coleman from SHA, Colin Thornton from Dial & Nerd and Torito Networks, and McLeod Burrell from CyberSafe. Okay, so we've been talking about the big risk areas for small businesses. The next big one is Internet of Things connectivity. So what does this mean, Colin?
Internet of Things is a huge buzzword, and it's been around for a long time. It's sort of like the cloud. It's technology that existed, but it's becoming very popular now. So to give you an example, in Johannesburg right now, there's an Internet of Things project underway to put little modules inside the sprayers in golf courses that detect when a piece of the golf course is drying out, and then it sprays in that area. And it feeds back lots of reports to the golf club manager, for instance. So it's just a neat little trick.
So how
and
would
it's
small
connected to the internet.
businesses be at risk for that, McLeod?
Well, I suppose, if you look at a small business, what are the devices that are connected to the internet, people don't even think that your printers are an issue, but in some cases they have an IP address.
Yeah.
You've got your router, and you've got your laptops and even your smartphones that you connect. So if you look at that holistically, any of those devices that are connected to the internet are vulnerable if there isn't some form of protection on them, so to speak, or if there isn't.
So do hackers would get into that? It's quite easy to get into, and then from that they would get into the small business system.
I think there's been a lot of research to show that a lot of the devices that are connected to the internet don't have appropriate security on them, because people never thought about those being hacked. You look at 3-4 years ago, those guys hacked into the Jeep. There was a Jeep that was being driven. They were sitting in the back seats. It was just a test. But they managed to hack into the security system of the car.
So if it's that easy, Simon, are these big corporates who use small businesses as suppliers, does that put them at risk?
I think everyone in the supply chain is at risk of cybercrime. I don't think it's specific to the Internet of Things. We might only see those sort of things coming to the fore, in 5 or 10 years' time, when the technology becomes more pervasive. But for now, I think people are talking a lot about these, what do they call the Google Assistant, the devices that you have in your home, like Siri on your phone, things where you can talk to it, get guidance, directions to somewhere. If someone gets access to those things, you could track someone's whereabouts, you could know when they're at home, when they're not at home. So if you're running a syndicate that is robbing houses, you would know when there's no one there.
Yeah, so Colin, how do you prevent that?
Right now you don't. You protect your perimeter, what we call perimeter in the IT world. So a more alarming case is if IP cameras are connected to the internet. So if someone hacks into your IP camera, and there was a huge hack a couple of years ago where they hacked into a huge network of IP cameras. But if someone did that just in your business, and they were actually able to look through the IP camera and see where you are, what you were logging into on your computer, et cetera, you're in trouble. The only way to prevent that right now, if the IP camera itself doesn't have the right security, is having a firewall and a perimeter set up.
Yeah, okay, so it's clearly a big risk area for small businesses, but does this mean that they should be taking out insurance?
I think they should be talking to their brokers about it, because it is something that's available in South Africa. Cyber insurance has traditionally been pitched at big business. So corporates, banks, they've had cyber insurance for many years because they've been exposed. But smaller businesses are still relatively unaware of the fact that this exists.
But how much would it be?
So for a small business, they could pay 5,000 or 10,000 Rand a year, for $1 million or 2 million Rands worth of cover.
So it's not too onerous.
No, it's cheaper than your car insurance, and you're probably more likely to be hit with ransomware than be hit by a car.
Okay, so McLeod, so I want to ask you, we talk about these people being these criminals being hackers, but who are they? Is there a common profile?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's some guy with a balaclava in his mother's basement, they're hacking away.
The age of 6.
Yes. But
why would you be wearing a balaclava?
I'm also wondering.
Someone might be looking at you
the
through your
typical
camera.
criminal type person,
Maybe
with the trench
headphones.
coat
Maybe
and
His
yeah.
underwear.
You know what I mean. But in actual fact, that it's quite serious in the sense that there are actually organizations out there with their own admin teams and their own financing teams, and they are selling malware as a service. So running as professional organizations, selling these things to people so that they can go and send out their phishing mails to everybody.
Okay, I want to talk about something slightly more serious. In fact, just as serious is protection of data. The new legislation, the EU has just brought out the General Data Protection Regulations. So you get all these emails from them saying, do you still want to be on our email database? So is Poppy the local equivalent?
Yeah, it's basically been modelled on legislation from all over the world, the US, Europe. But it's kind of been a long time coming. It was promulgated years ago, and we're still waiting for the deadline date.
Because it's not effective as yet,
no.
is it? So in what way will that affect small businesses, Colin? What do they have to do now to prepare for Poppy?
It's going to affect them if they deal with any personal information, and that could be as simple as usernames and passwords, but it could be as advanced as credit card details and ID numbers and addresses and stuff like that. So any business that has any type of personal information is going to need to be aware of Poppy.
Not just clients, it's your own staff as
No,
well.
yeah.
So any personal information.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would I have to do as a small consultancy? What do I have to do to protect my data?
Can I start billing now?
You're on the clock.
I'll speak to you afterwards.
No, it's unfortunately it's quite complex. It's Poppy and GDPR all concentrate on all of the various aspects that someone could get your data. What happens if they do get your data? What you're going to do about it? It's not and quite rightfully so. It's not just download some software and install it on my computer. It's a process. It's policies. It's procedures. It's a whole methodology.
Again, so are we saying that for small businesses, it's probably a bit out of their knowledge space, and they should really be using an outsourced consultant for this?
Yeah, well, most definitely. As Colin was saying, there's policies and procedures, disaster recovery plans that need to be put in place. People, the CISOs or CSIOs rather, is people in charge of the security within the organization. When you get hit with a breach, what steps do you follow? Who do you contact and who do you call? And also, once, let's say, you do, let's unfortunately lose personal information, what steps have you taken to mitigate that harm that has been taken?
Yeah. When is Poppy effective?
We don't know. So if we knew that, we'd probably be making more money.
You'd be billing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to play a little game with you guys. Just a couple of everyday scenarios which we all use. So you've got to tell me if it's safe or not safe. So, first one. So if you submit a request for an online quote on a website, is your data safe, not safe? McLeod.
Yes and no.
That might be a theme.
Yeah.
Well, what do I look out for?
Look, it depends, I think, whose site it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If there's millions of pop-up ads on the side, then probably not. But if it's a reputable business, then perhaps.
Okay, so is it best just to pick up the phone and ask
Most
them for a
definitely.
quote? Okay.
Most definitely.
What about online credit card transactions?
They're actually very safe in South Africa, and I'm certainly not making a blanket rule, but when I say very safe, it's relative. 10 years ago, it wasn't that safe. Nowadays, it's incredible how we don't see very much credit card fraud at all. We see phishing and ransomware and all sorts of other fraud. We very rarely see credit fraud nowadays, and you guys might have different experience, but that's my experience.
Yeah. Okay, what about if you put your credit card information on apps? Now, recently I was stuck in a parking lot and had to do that whiz pass, whatever. So I had to give over my credit card information, which I hated doing, to get out. Is that safe?
I think, again, it depends, if it's a reputable app.
Well, how would you know if it's reputable?
Okay, so if it's on the iStore, you're good. In the App Store.
Okay.
If it's an Android thing, then you need to be a little bit more circumspect. because they've just done a big clean out recently where there was quite a lot of malware in the shape of an app on Android devices. But generally, I would prefer to have my credit card information in an app than me entering it onto a
On
website.
a website, really?
Yeah.
Is it safer?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Cookie information on websites. What do they pick up and what do they use it for?
Tons of information, and it gets used in. It's supposed to be used in advertising and making sure that you're seeing the content that is relevant to you when you visit other websites. Unfortunately, it can be used for nefarious purposes as well.
Such as what?
McLeod?
I suppose, cookies. I mean, I always heard a rumor many times, well, many years ago, was that if you log in, obviously, to get your airplane tickets to look at prices, you know, the next time you log back in, the price is just a little bit higher.
I heard that one.
You know,
and I'm sure it's true.
Well, I didn't want to say it was, just in case it wasn't. But
chances are.
Yeah, I suppose in that sense they could get information of your, you know, where you, especially if you put your location in, you know, they understand where you are, what your interests are, and that will lend itself to the spear phishing as we discussed earlier. It's just getting a better profile as you as a person.
I don't think there's anything wrong with cookies, but I think you just needed to be told that it was being stored.
Yeah, but it's also,
you know,
once again, it's invasive, I think, you know, Big Brother gone bad. Browsing on the web, is that safe?
Look, I think Google's gotten a lot better.
It depends where you browse.
Yeah, yes, exactly. What time of day or night, perhaps. I think that Google's gotten a lot better at spotting websites that don't quite look right or the certificate doesn't match the URL. So you can look for that little lock in the top, although it doesn't guarantee that it's completely safe.
But it's something to watch out for.
It's something to watch out for.
So
And no, don't click on a link in an email to get to the site. You know, rather go through the search engine.
Yeah. So I read something about that Zuckerberg actually put a piece of black tape on the camera on his computer. Is that a risk?
I see that it's not Zuckerberg. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially in the States, that are doing that nowadays.
Should we all be doing it?
Well, certainly it's possible. It's possible for someone to hack your laptop and take over your camera. It's entirely possible. I have never heard personally of it actually happening. I don't know.
No, I cover my camera anyway.
Okay, and
I'm just like that.
Hey, well, I'm going to do that. Is it black tape? Is it black tape, McLeod?
Working in their balaclavas and underwear, you know, they need to cover up the camera.
Okay, I'm going to be the black tape person. Okay, finally, it just seems so scary to a small business, all of this. It really does, but I think the answer is that you actually have to find an outsourced IT consultant. Your number one safety tip to small businesses, McLeod?
Think before you click on any email that is...
Colin?
Education. People just need to know what to look out for.
Simon?
Backups.
And that's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks again to my guest, Simon Coleman from SHA, Colin Thornton from Dial & Nerd and Retail Networks, and McLeod Burrell from CyberSafe. And thank you for watching.
32 countries, 75 innovative risk solutions, 100 years of experience. It all adds up to being the largest general insurer in Africa. Celebrating 100 years of insurance, good and proper then, now, and always.